is the July 12th meeting of the Harbor Management Commission's Mooring Committee. On today's call, we have Jeff Stedman. Jeff, you're there?
Yes, here.
And Kim Taylor, you're there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Harry French, are you on the line with us? Harry may join us in just a moment. The agenda for today includes 3 old business items. I'll quickly cover them so we know the order that we're going to be covering things in today. First item is around mooring administration during the period the harbor master position is vacant. Second item I've put on is just a discussion around the online mooring administrative system resolved in open issue items. And then the third item is just any update we may have relative to the town's agreement that we can accept the donation by Pequot Yacht Club of a Harbor Master Patrol vessel, a Boston whaler. So to open, the Harbor Master position is vacant. We have limited ability to perform administrative work of the Harbor Master without that position filled. Jeff Stedman, you had sent a message to me earlier while we were in a different meeting with an update with some discussions that you had, and I think that it would make sense for you to update us on any input that you have in the mooring committee relative to the administrative cover during the absence of a harbor master.
Position of the harbor master. I did speak with Mr. Delina in the governor's office again today, and he's been very helpful. I forget his title is Deputy General Counsel, but he's been involved with the harbor master issues since he became the Deputy General Counsel. And so we had talked, I guess the last time before the last meeting, about the possibility of the governor appointing someone with the harbor master's authority on an interim basis. And Mr. Delina was going to look into that. But he said today he doesn't know that they have the authority, the legal authority to do it, because the harbor master's positions under the pursuant to the statute are for 3 years. So he didn't know that they had the. I mean, he could spend some more time looking at it, but he wasn't optimistic that they would get a positive answer. So his suggestion was that if we have, and I told him that the commission is proceeding with the search committee, but it may take a period of time. He said if there's someone who's interested in serving on an interim basis, that they could appoint, they being the governor's office, that person, this was his suggestion, as a deputy harbor master. And then that person could resign after the end of the summer, or continue as the deputy for the 3-year period, but either without much responsibilities if the new harbor master is in order. So that was his suggestion, and I said I didn't know that we had someone who would be interested. But to make a long story short, if there's someone that might be interested in doing it on an interim basis, he felt the way to go was to appoint that person as a deputy for the full term of the deputy, rather than on an interim basis. So I don't know if that's something that will work for us or not. But I also told him that I would.
A question about the powers of a deputy in the absence of a harbor master. Would the deputy be able to, for example, perform the approvals of pending waitlist applications? We have 3 of them currently in the system.
Because the deputy would have all of the powers. The deputy would, under the statute, has all of the powers and duties of the harbor master in the absence of the harbor master, or is delegated by the harbor master.
Okay.
Just
so
to
in the absence of a harbor master to delegate, he could just assume those responsibilities.
Yes.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just to throw a monkey wrench into this idea, I had a phone conversation with a fellow at DEEP, and who believes that Fairfield needs a deputy harbor master to deal with, and these are his words, the unpermitted moorings up the Pine Creek, and the unpermitted moorings off of Jennings and Fairfield Beach. So I don't know.
He realizes those are out of the harbor management area?
Oh yeah.
Kim, can I interrupt?
So I don't know if that would complicate things, or...
Kim, if I could interrupt, I tried calling you earlier today, and the phone didn't pick up into the voicemail. It just rang, and
I've been in a meeting for a couple hours, Jeff. That's probably why.
And I was going to tell you that Mr. Zavoy sent an email asking me to call him today, which I did.
Okay.
And talked with him for a long time about this, and I also brought it up with Mr. Delina.
Mm-hmm. So good.
He said that's not a problem, with it making an appointment for someone else in Fairfield. But I also said to Mr. Zavoy, I didn't know that it was a pressing issue to have a harbor master for the rest of Fairfield, and that there's no harbor management plan for the rest of it, and there's no mooring rules and procedures. So he asked if we could get back to him about how many boat moorings there are off of the other town waters, off of Fairfield Beach. I said, we're not talking about boats moored in Pine Creek, or I didn't believe there were any in Ash Creek. So I said I didn't believe that there were that many boats that would make make it necessary for a harbor master.
That's exactly what I told him. I was down there a couple of weeks ago. I'll be down there next Monday night again to take a look, and there was one. I saw one mooring ball.
But and I reminded him that some years ago, 10 years ago or so, he brought up the same issue, and we had an agreement at the time. I say we, the Shellfish Commission did. That DEEP is supposed to regulate those moorings, moorings that are in areas without a harbor master. So it would help them out if they didn't have to do that if there was a harbor master to do it. And the agreement that we had some 10 years ago, and I think I sent that to him and to you to remind him, was that when DEEP has got a proposal to place a mooring off of Fairfield Beach in the natural shellfish bed, that they would check with the Shellfish Commission before issuing it. But DEEP is responsible for doing that now. But anyway, so I told them that I would bring this up with you and Jack, and that by the end of hopefully at the end of this week, we would get back to Kevin and tell him how many boats are actually moored off of Fairfield shoreline. And Mr. Delana doesn't care. He said if you want to have someone else being a harbor master for the rest of Fairfield, and the governor's office would deal with that, and then he jokingly said, plus he gets a big salary of $300 a year from the state of Connecticut.
Wow. So there's a stipend that's attached to the deputy position as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and he also said that, and I think I sent it to you, Kim, that the statute has been changed for appointments. Did. So if we have someone that we wish to be harbor master, and the harbor management plan, he wanted to confirm again that it's in good standing, and I said yes. Then the governor, if we don't have three names, the governor will appoint a person from a list of one name for the Southport Harbor Master.
Right. Okay, good.
So that's long-winded discussion, but
the takeaway I guess I'm hearing is that if someone emerges that would be interested in temporarily filling in the role of a deputy to allow us to process, if we think it's important to do, the work that would be the harbor master's work while we find a new harbor master, that's an option. I'm not aware that there is such a person at this point, but it's good to know that that's an option. How would that? Do you get the impression they could move quickly on that? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense if it's going to take a long time for them to make a go decision on that too.
I got the sense that he's been very helpful to us, and I got the sense that he could move quickly on it. And I said to him, I would, we'll get back to you, after we discuss it. And Mr. Zavoy also confirmed, though, that we can't. As I said, there's a handful of mooring permits that haven't been issued, or a handful of mooring permit renewal applications that haven't been acted on. And he said, well, you can't act on them without the harbor master, and that's
right.
That's really what we need to, and also to assign someone from the waiting list to any vacant spaces.
But in my conversation with him, Jeff, I told him that we had some situations where the harbor master had made decisions about where boats were to be stationed, and we were simply waiting on documents for those boats.
All right.
And that in that case, if the harbor master has already said you're there, now submit your documents, that was okay.
Okay. Well, I didn't mention it that way to him.
Right.
So that makes sense, though, what you just said.
But so we've got 5 or 6 situations. I don't know if it's that big a number now that where the assignment was made, but we were required. No documents had been submitted, but Savoy seemed to think that was okay.
Okay, that's
so
good.
If we were satisfied that the documents had been provided, it would be okay to issue the permit to them.
Correct.
To send them the sticker. Right.
Correct.
Right.
We're not making any new decisions. We're simply mailing. We're an administrative task. Yeah.
We're executing the approvals already made by the prior harbor master. Right.
Exactly. That's a better way to put it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to go over things that you had already talked with him, Kim.
No. How would you know? Yeah.
He wanted to discuss other things as well in some other towns, and then he focused mostly on this because apparently he talked with Ed, and Ed mentioned that there were a number of boats that outside of Southport that needed proper permitting. And that's why Kevin said, "Well, can you confirm how many there are?"
Right.
Which we'll do. We can.
Yeah, we can do that.
And we can look at photographs too, so we can figure that out.
Right.
So we have an option, Kim. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I guess you could bring it up to the full commission about this idea that if we were to encounter a person that would be suitable in the interim as a deputy, that could allow us to move ahead with placing vessels on any of the empty, vacant moorings that the harbor master would normally be doing. The waiting list people are sitting in their proper position pending approval based on the date that they paid for and completed their application. So they paid the $50 fee and completed their application. So they're not urgent because they would be at the bottom of the wait list, and they are anyway. So that could wait for the naming of a new harbor master. Right. So I don't know for certain that it's urgent at this time of year that we have a deputy, but it's worth being aware of, I guess, from my perspective.
Right. I feel the same way without having somebody. There may actually be a few moorings, though, or 1 or 2 moorings that we could be assigning potentially if we had a harbor master. So. How many are there?
Well, I believe, and Jeff Engborg, I think, is listening. He could take himself off of mute to help me out here, but I believe the mooring previously held by Galadriel may not have been assigned by the harbor master. I don't know if Jeff is able to unmute and participate. I'm not exactly certain. I believe that vessel is now at a Pequot slip, and I'm not aware, I could be wrong, I'm not aware that was reassigned by the previous harbor master before he left.
Well, the...
hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, hi, Jeff.
Yes, yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. We had a boat leave the docks, and it created an opening for a boat, and it looks like Galadriel Santa would be the candidate. They have not moved yet, and I think that we were planning on perhaps doing that this week, Thursday at the latest, which means that we're still checking some paperwork to make sure that all of the necessary seniority documents point to him. There was a 3-way tie. It's pending adequate depth. We got to check the actual depth at that slip. There's some concerns about the draft of that vessel on the slip, so we're not really certain yet, but it looks like that's probably going to be what happens, and that would create an empty mooring afterward. So I'm not sure if it'll be this week or next. We're hoping it's in the next few weeks.
And your understanding is Mr. Santa recognizes that he would be giving up his town mooring there if he were to do that, correct?
Sorry about that.
I think so.
This is Harry.
Hi, Harry.
Okay. Hi, Harry. Okay,
Hi,
so there's one
Good
camp, and I'm
afternoon.
not sure. Jeff, are there any others that are vacant moorings in the south of the North Anchorage area?
Ed had mentioned that the center South Helix mooring, I don't have the chart in front of me, so I don't know the number, but formerly occupied by Levinson, was going to become open. I don't know at what stage of permit process that was, but I did hear that directly from Ed, that mooring was going to need to be assigned.
Yeah, I mean, the status on the system, if memory serves, is that mooring is under the rules, the temporary vacancy while a new vessel is being sought. So I believe in the system, that's what it says, but I don't have any update beyond that, if I remember correctly.
Okay, yeah, I would also...
under the rules, they can keep it vacant for one season while they're acquiring another vessel, if I remember the rules correctly.
Yeah.
Other than that mooring and a half, I'm not sure of any other changes that would be happening. I know Ed mentioned that he had a few other moorings along the wall or somewhere else farther towards the yacht yard that he was dealing with, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, and then there was one question Ed had shared with me before he left about whether that the first wall mooring was okay in its current position or might be problematically placed. So I don't know the answer to that question. You may know.
Is that south wall number one or the farthest mooring towards
Yep, that's far. Or is it 0-0 now? I think it's showing the system is 0. It's in front of the previously number 1.
Yeah, I have to check the records, but I think that mooring has been in and out, so that could very well be the previous number 1 before it was changed back.
Okay. It certainly wouldn't be vacant, but it might be one that we have to keep track of, whether it's in the right place and can be used as a mooring properly placed. I don't know the answer to that.
I think that we would probably have to consult with the surveyors to have that actually surveyed or measured or just approved, because there's a drawing that gives distances, and that could very well be in the federal. It's right about where the anchorage turns into a channel.
Right. Okay. Just in
Jeff,
terms of
Tim,
some...
Could I... Ed did speak to me, and I don't know how everybody feels about this, but Ed did speak to me about the possibility of Galadriel being moved into a slip, and he mentioned to me the boat that would be the next in line to go into Galadriel's spot. I don't know if we want to if we want to consider that as the same kind of situation where the harbor master had made a decision about who was going to be moved where, and we're simply waiting for that to happen, and thus issue the permit. Did that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Jeff, do you have a view on is that okay, not okay? What's your thought from your conversation?
Ed had mentioned that there were 3 boats on the waiting list that were of suitable size and keel. And I don't have the list in front of me, but I think that out of the 3 boats, there was the third one down was the only real boat, and I think that was Cargill, Sam Cargill.
Yeah.
But I'd have to check the list.
That's what he said to me, Jeff. He said that if Galadriel goes when the one boat leaves the Pequot dock, and then if Galadriel goes into that slip, then the next boat in line for Galadriel's mooring would be Marbella. So, I mean that's what he was thinking and planning. At least that's what he told me.
I heard something about that too. And one of the good points there is that the boat fits the requirements. It has a keel. It's the right length. It's a sailboat.
Yeah.
Right.
All the above.
That feels like a decision was made by the harbor master to me, Kim.
I mean, he was telling he was telling me what he had already decided and how it should work. So I don't know. Right. I mean, you know, I don't know how comfortable we all are saying that that's the harbor master's decision and that's what he would have done, and thus issuing the permit, making the switch. But you know, it doesn't seem to me to be so far-fetched. If he told two of us. Jeff Stedman,
plus one less open mooring. One less open mooring is good because you already have some for other reasons.
Yeah. Jeff Stedman, do you think that's pushing it too much?
I would propose that if that's an agreement, I guess I would propose that we assign that, we follow his assignment and give the permit to the applicant for that mooring, and that we pen the online mooring administrator until we have either a deputy or a permanent harbor master to formalize that in the system. We already have documentation that vessel is registered in the state of Connecticut and has insurance, so that's not a concern.
Right.
So maybe we just sit on the administrative processing and provide the permit sticker for the vessel to be there, and then catch up with the administrative piece of it when the harbor master is named.
I might add something with respect to administration of information in the online system. And I talked about that with Kevin and also Mr. Delina as work or tasks that's not necessary for the harbor master to do, that a clerk or someone administrative person could do that we don't need the harbor master him or herself doesn't have to do that. And I think they both agreed, and that's actually reflects practice in other towns. For example, in Norwalk, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what you were saying, Jack, but in Norwalk, the harbor master doesn't do anything with the online mooring system other than look at it from time to time. But the insertion of data and the day-to-day operation is done by a member of the Harbor Commission. And in Greenwich,
there's a transaction that the harbor master performs. Somebody performs that says approve. And so
that's what you need the harbor master for.
Without a harbor master, can someone approve the permit?
No.
It's in a pending status, and it goes into an approved status.
Yes.
Who's authorized to approve?
Only the harbor master or the deputy could do that.
Right. So if directed by a harbor master, I would assume a clerk could press the button that says approve, but it would be at the direction of a harbor master. And my question was, without a harbor master, maybe we just sit on that press the approve button until after we have a harbor master. In the meantime, a sticker could be given to Mr. Cargill to put his boat on that SH, whatever that is, South Helix, whatever mooring that is up there.
I'm sorry. Can I just interrupt for a second? I just wanted to let you know that I think the PYC Harbor Committee is not ruled on whether or not that boat is suitable for the slip, and so we need a little more time. All indications are that boat will most likely be moved, but the decision, I have to check with the Harbor Committee to find out whether the data is conclusive or not.
Okay. So even if it were to be vacant, the question is, can we give a sticker to the successor boat to go in there to be in that location? And sounds like we could do that. There's a question of whether we want to do the issuance in the system yet, approve it in the system, or just wait till we have a harbor master for that piece. I don't know the answer. I mean, I take your guidance on that, Kim.
Well, do we have to even issue a sticker? Doesn't he already have a sticker? We just switch the numbers.
For the permit that he has in the North Anchorage. The sticker he has is associated with the mooring he has currently.
Right. So we just...
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if the way that the harbor master administers this is he moves the sticker. I just don't know. I haven't had anything to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know. I don't know. So maybe we, for now, just leave it the way it is and don't assign a new sticker because we don't know whether the sticker stays the same or not. I just don't know that level of detail. Okay, so it sounds like they're in a holding pattern until the club makes a decision relative to the placement of Galadriel, yes or no, and then after that we're faced with a decision on how far we can go in assigning that at this point. We don't have to make that decision right now. We know what the questions are.
Right.
While we have Mr. Engborg on, there are administrative issues outstanding still with respect to approvals, and I guess the committee should know whether, if you're aware with respect to people who may have Pequot affiliations, if these boats are in the harbor but not permitted. Mr. Muller, the Midwall 11 Sea Ray vessel, this one's not permitted and is missing documentation. Do you know if that vessel's in the harbor, Jeff?
That vessel is in the harbor, and he has shared emails, copied me on a bunch of emails that he's been, I guess, writing to various, responding to the online stuff. And if you like, I can forward those.
Let me share with you what we're showing, and then in the system, there's a document under the insurance part that shows a commercial general liability policy, an excess liability policy, and a homeowner's policy. It doesn't show a boat policy, and it doesn't even name a boat or show that there's coverage on a boat. So there's a document loaded, but it's not one that meets the requirements to show that there's liability coverage on a particular vessel that is the one that's named in the application. So yes, he's loaded an image, but it doesn't meet the requirements. We need to see what's being insured and that it's insurance on a boat. And he's provided something from an insurance company that does not show that. So that's where we stand on that. He also has not put an image showing his Connecticut vessel registration in a current Connecticut vessel registration. There's just no vessel registration shown. So both of those. So neither the insurance nor the vessel registration's in the system. I don't know if Mr. Aluzzi is on South Helix 04. I don't know if you would have information about him. I don't know if he's got a Pequot affiliation.
But this is Jeff. Ed told me that I do remember that Aluzzi was not bringing a boat or was undecided.
Okay, so we don't have to worry.
There's no boat there now.
He's paid. He's not on FH04. Okay, so I don't know the status of that mooring, that is, in terms of availability if he's not putting a boat on it, but we can tackle that. It's not about missing information. It's just there's no boat here. There's a North Anchorage E2, a vessel Calypso, Mr. McGowan. This vessel, the notes in the system indicate that it sounds like Calypso may be a vessel that's currently being documented by the U.S. Coast Guard. It may be a newly acquired boat. It doesn't say that for sure. There's no Connecticut registration image in the system. According to the state's website, you don't need to have a valid documentation record, federal documentation, but you are required to get Connecticut registration and issuance of numbers temporarily to have the vessel in the state, in the waters. So the fact that he's got a pending U.S. Coast Guard federal documentation does not excuse him from having a vessel in Connecticut waters without a Connecticut registration, according to the
And I have sent Mr. McGowan. He had a complaint that he couldn't get into his account, and I spent a lot of time sending him an email, which, if he responded to it or clicked on it, would take him right into his account. Apparently, a lot of people are complaining that they can't get in, they don't have an access code, and Online Mooring apparently sends out almost immediate responses to those concerns, and I think that those the access codes must go to people's spam, because there must be 5 or 6 folks from Pequot who have had this issue.
We actually had them check it out. The president of Online Mooring verified that it's working correctly, and the only problem would be is if they enter an email that's not the email they used in their application, or they enter a phone number that's not the phone number they have in their application. That would be inappropriate in those cases to give you an access code. So if they're using the correct phone number or email address, the system generates the access for them.
But even in this case,
so Mr. McGowan's is problematic. There's no evidence that his vessel is properly registered in the state of Connecticut and shouldn't be in the harbor.
Right, and he's not. He's got total access to get in and take a picture and upload it. So.
Right, and the state is very clear that the fact that you've got a pending application does not excuse you from having assigning numbers to the vessel temporarily and getting and paying the tax and getting paying the registration fee. All right, Kim, help me out with some of these. You had an update. Ted Leahy's vessel Peanut.
Yep.
This is in North Anchorage E2.
Yep. Ted Leahy and Ed Leahy were complaining that they couldn't get into the system, that they needed an access code. I don't know whether again their requests went to spam, but again I sent them a special individualized email that would take them right exactly into their account.
So Jeff Engborg, the situation on this one in the system. The applicant has provided an image of a proof of insurance for a 36-foot Jersey Cape Express, but the application that he typed in says that the vessel is a 27-foot Boston Whaler Outrage. So clearly there's good reason for the harbor master not to have issued the permit, and in addition, there's no Connecticut vessel registration image in the system either. So if the vessel is registered, it needs to have that inserted, and we need proof of insurance for the actual vessel that's in the harbor. And that vessel, if it's not registered, should not be in Southport Harbor. The next one is Mr. Quinn on North Anchorage B7. This is a Wellcraft Scarab 30-foot boat. This boat's record, the applicant put a image of an insurance declarations page for the vessel, but it expired in October of 2020, about 9 months ago. So we need proof of current insurance to issue that one.
And the Quinns also had trouble accessing. I've had several conversations with them through email. I also sent them the direct access into their account. So, and that was
the good news is 127 other people have properly completed their requirements to submit proof of insurance, current proof of insurance, and Connecticut registration for the vessel using the system. So that's very good. We're focusing on the few stragglers here, but they're concerning in situations where there may not actually even be a legal registration in the state of Connecticut for some of these vessels. So. We don't have a harbor master. We're just asking for the club's help with respect to club members who are not in compliance with the rules for town of Fairfield.
This is Jeff. I'll be glad to follow up with those 4 individuals ASAP and let them know that they need that information. Even if they send it to me, at least if I have the real documents or the required documents, it's either a yes or a no in a box to check. It either is the registration and the insurance or it isn't. So I'll follow up with that.
Right. There's one I mentioned in that list that there's something from an insurance company, and it shows liability insurance, but it doesn't show the name of the boat or the kind of boat, and it doesn't even show that there's boat insurance. It just names other kinds of insurance, homeowners, excess liability as an umbrella policy. So I'm trying to find things that could satisfy, but I'm just not seeing it there. So anyway, anything else with respect to mooring administration? Okay, if not, on online mooring system, I think we sort of have covered it. Kim and I have both encountered concerns with people saying they can't get into the system. We went to the president of online mooring and had him investigate our complaints, and he's telling us that he's checked and the system is working properly, and there is some other reason than system malfunction for why people aren't able to get access to their own records in the system. In fact, most of these cases I've looked at, the people had previously been in the system and entered stuff this year, so they're currently having trouble getting in, but they were able to get in earlier, so something is amiss there. We're happy. If
sorry, this is Jeff again.
To work with online mooring.
It's
Yeah,
Jeff again. Sorry to interrupt, but I've been having trouble too. I've got to talk to online mooring again tomorrow, but there's been something going on with my data I wasn't able to enter. I spoke to Matt there. I got to talk to Matt
again. Personal one,
or
to access data for the mooring records? Which role is that's an issue for you?
I think it's either or, and I think it's because maybe since I have two levels of access. So what I think I'm going to try to do is use my wife's email. Her name's on the boat too, and for my personal boat, and then keep everything else to my club email. So that I'll be following up with Matt this week. But I just wanted to mention that I have.
If there's a hassle with you trying to get them to respond to you timely, just let me know, and I'll put in a call. They seem to react to the town calling them. So if you're not getting quick turnaround, which we usually do, just let me know.
Affirmative. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the administrative system?
This is Harry. The only thing I have to do is upload my boating certificate.
That's due next year, but yes. Yep. And you can do it, once you have it, you can do it any time, and you're good for life. The state is not requiring any renewals. So once you put it in, you're done with that one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's the insurance and the registration that will always need to be updated annually, understandably. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And we have a bunch of people who've already updated and put in their Connecticut Safe Boater, so that's good. A lot of folks have already done that. So, okay, the Harbor Master Patrol vessel, just for Jeff, I think Kim and I have not heard an update again from the town. I think we're going to check in again with the First Select Woman's office and see if we can ask again for an update. There had been a surgery issue a couple of months ago holding things up, but we have not heard an update, Kim, unless you've heard something recently.
No, nothing.
Yeah, appreciate it. Jeff, I had understood that you guys are actually using that boat this season because you found a need for it for the club. Is that right?
That's affirmative. We had a back order issue on an engine for the motor and boat that we're going to replace that, and it's late, and there's no. We're not sure when the item is coming. Sent an email to Kim and got an okay for us to hold off. Of course, we're holding anyway in a holding pattern until we hear back from the town that they'll accept it.
So why don't we'll be in contact with you if we hear anything from the town, and you can tell us what your timing looks like on your end. We'll just partner with you to figure out when the transition can actually happen. But our
program
is to get a green light soon.
Our junior program is over last week or mid-August, so by then we would be in a position to give the boat, or any time after that, whenever the town's ready. We haven't rescinded our offer. We've just delayed due to
You're right.
Yes.
And we haven't rescinded our interest. We'd love to get the boat, so we're just waiting to hear from the town.
Right, and I'm glad it's being used and not sitting on a mooring.
Oh, yeah.
Gathering
seaweed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So. We're good. We're very, very appreciative for the offer. So. Any new business for us to talk to today? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. Jeff, thank you for following up on that. The just small handful of boaters who have not completed and haven't received their permits and should not have boats in the harbor. If any help you can provide in emphasizing that the boat shouldn't be in the harbor would be great if they can't satisfy those requirements. We are, Kim, sending stickers to folks as they satisfy the requirements, because the harbor master's already placed those boats. It's just a question of doing the administrative requirements, and then we're giving the permits to people. Correct?
Right.
Right. So, Jeff, as soon as they're in, we can get these guys legal. So, all right. I think we can adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Great. Super. Thank you.
All right.
Take care,
all right.
everybody.
Take care.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye now.